Records are set to be broken, but these are 10 football records that will surely stand the test of time. Highest attendance. In 2014, Brazil's 7-1 loss to Germany was one of the most stunning moments of football history. But it wasn't Brazil's most embarrassing World Cup defeat. Let's rewind the clock back to 1950. Once again, Brazil was hosting the World Cup, and just like in 2014, they were very, very confident of victory. All Brazil had to do was draw against Uruguay in their last match to win the tournament. The locals thought it was a done deal. The mayor of Rio de Janeiro praised the squad, which in a few hours will be hailed as champions. 22 gold medals were made, with each player's name engraved on them. Everyone in the country was ready to see Brazil win its first World Cup. 199,854 people packed into the Maracanã to watch their heroes in action. The cheer when Brazil went 1-0 up was deafening. But Uruguay hadn't read the script. Against all odds, they scored 2 goals in the second half and won the World Cup. By the end of the game, the only sound coming from the all-time record crowd was cries of anguish. Most goals in a calendar year. After winning 7 Ballon d'Ors and 4 Champions Leagues, Lionel Messi still has an even more astonishing statistic about his career. The Argentine is undoubtedly one of the greatest players of all time. Many people even have him at number 1. But back in 2012, he did something truly extraordinary. The record for the most goals in a calendar year was previously held by Gerd Müller with 85 goals in 1972. Exactly 50 years later, Messi obliterated Müller's record. In just 69 matches, Messi scored 91 goals. If this was FIFA or Football Manager, those numbers would be dismissed as unrealistic. But Messi the alien really did it. Biggest international victory. For most of its history, Australia was part of the Oceania Football Confederation. But in 2001, the Socceroos were forced to question everything they've ever known. Australia felt they deserved a bye to the final round of World Cup qualifiers, but the authorities felt differently. Australia had to face minnows like Tonga and Fiji on the path to the 2002 World Cup in Japan and South Korea. Australia won their first game 22-0 against Tonga. Then things got really messy. American Samoa were never going to beat Australia, but their task became even harder when visa issues forced them to field an understrength team. They had to draft in youth players, including 3 15-year-olds. Australia showed no mercy. At half-time, they were 16-0 up. By the end of the game, the score was Australia 31, American Samoa 0. Archie Thompson scored 13 goals alone, which was a record in itself. The craziest thing about the game, Australia basically picked a reserve team. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, and in search of stronger competition, Australia soon switched to the Asian Confederation. Most goals scored by a goalkeeper. Now, imagine with me for a second, Manchester United need a goal in the last minute and they've been awarded a free kick from 30 yards out. Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho all step aside. Up runs David De Gea, who curls the ball into the top corner. Okay, United fans, you can stop dreaming now. De Gea won't be taking set pieces anytime soon. But goal-scoring goalkeepers do exist in real life. Step forward, Rogério Ceni, the Brazilian keeper who scored 131 goals for Sao Paulo. Ceni had a brilliant right foot. He could score free kicks with power or precision. He also took penalties, including the occasional Panenka. Ceni was never able to score a goal for Brazil, but he was part of the squad that won the 2002 World Cup. Fastest hat-trick. Football gives ordinary people the chance to do something extraordinary, and in 1964, that's exactly what happened in the Scottish leagues. Tommy Ross had a modest career for Ross County, York City, Peterborough United and Wigan Athletic. He was far from a superstar, but in one particular game he played like he was the child of Ronaldo and Messi. Ross was just 18 on the day he made history. In a game for Ross County against Nairn County, he scored a hat-trick in just 90 seconds. We hope no one nipped off for a hot dog. Most red cards in a match. Tempers run high in local derbies around the world, but nowhere is that more true than in Argentina, and we can prove it. Boca Juniors versus River Plate is one of the most famous rivalries in the world, but we're going way down to the 5th tier of Argentine football for this one. In March 2011, 2 smaller teams from Buenos Aires went head-to-head. Claypole and Victoriano Arenas were both desperate to win, and their emotions emotions got the better of both sides. 2 players were sent off in the first half, but it was after the interval that the game descended into chaos. It started with just 2 players going head-to-head after a firm tackle, but teammates quickly got involved, then the coaches, and the craziest part, the supporters got involved too. Within seconds, a full-blown brawl had broken out, with the poor ref having to just stand there and watch. By the time the fight fizzled out, the ref had shown 36 red cards. Every single player on the pitch was sent off, plus coaches and subs from both teams. Fastest red card. When a substitute is sent on late in the game, he dreams of making an instant impact. And in 2014, that's exactly what Sergej Jahauer did, just not in the way he intended. Gilfordas needed a miracle. They had less than 10 minutes of normal time left to play and were 3-1 down to Olympiakos Volos. So their manager sent on Jahauer, hoping he could get his team back into the game. Instead, he made a comeback even more impossible. After just 7 seconds on the pitch, Jahauer caught an opponent with his right arm, and to his utter disbelief, the referee sent him off. To be fair to Jahauer, it was a very harsh red card. Still, at least he saw the longest distance goal. There's no fixed size for a football pitch. FIFA sets minimum and maximum dimensions, but it's up to clubs to choose the size of their field. For example, the Johnny Rock Stadium, home of Cheltenham Town, has a pitch which is 111 yards long. And in 2021, Tom King used almost every inch of space to etch his name into the history books. At the highest level, most goalkeepers play goal kicks short, but this was League 2, and King had one thing in mind: boot the ball as far down the pitch as possible. He booted the ball so far that it went even further than he imagined. Helped by a gusty wind on a cold January night, the ball flew down the pitch and bounced just outside the box before looping over the other keeper and into the net. King was 106 yards out when he connected with the ball, making this the longest distance goal of all time. And he didn't even celebrate. King simply walked back to his goal line and tapped the crossbar. Fastest goal by a sub. Question: which iconic Arsenal striker scored the fastest ever goal by a Premier League substitute? Was it Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, or Robin van Persie? The answer is none of them. It was someone even more iconic. The match in question was a North London derby. It was 1-1 between Arsenal and Tottenham when Arsene Wenger turned to his bench. Many Arsenal fans sighed when they saw Nicholas Bentner was coming on. But the Lord did some fine work this time. Just 1.8 seconds after replacing Emmanuel Eboué, the Big Dane headed home from a corner. Arsenal held on to win 2-1. It was a great traditional English header, Wenger said afterwards. Champions Leagues in a row. In 2016, 17 and 18, Cristiano Ronaldo led Real Madrid to win 3 Champions League titles in a row. But more than half a century earlier, the club did something even more magnificent. The European Cup was founded in 1956, and at first, not everyone took it seriously. English clubs thought it was a distraction and initially decided not to bother. Real Madrid, on the other hand, definitely took it seriously. That team of the 50s was absolutely superb. Alfredo Di Stefano was the star. There was also Paco Gento, Raymond Kopa, Ferenc Puskás, and Jose Santamaria, all of them legends. They won the first 5 tournaments to establish themselves as the kings of Europe, and ever since then, the Blancos have been the most successful club in the competition's history. We can't see another team winning 5 Champions Leagues in a row anytime soon. Most clean sheets. Have you ever wondered why not conceding a goal is called a clean sheet? Well, we'll get to that shortly. First, let's celebrate the king of clean sheets, a man who's kept more of them than anyone else in football history. He's a legendary goalkeeper who's won the World Cup. He was at the peak of his powers in the 2000s and 2010s. If you guessed Iker Casillas, well, you're wrong. The man with the record is Gianluigi Buffon. In February 2022, he kept his 500th career clean sheet while playing for Parma in Serie B. Buffon made his professional debut aged 17. He's currently 44 and is still playing week in, week out. His record will surely never be beaten. Oh, we almost forgot. It's called a clean sheet because reporters used to write down the scores on white sheets of paper. If your sheet was clean at the end of the match, that meant you hadn't conceded. Most World Cups. Remember when Kylian Mbappe took the 2018 World Cup by storm at the age of 19? Well, he wasn't the first teenager to shine on the biggest stage of all. In fact, compared to Pelé in 1958, Mbappe was actually quite old. Pelé was just 17 when Brazil lifted the Jules Rimet Trophy in 1958. He was part of the squad that retained the crown 4 years later, and in 1970, Pelé won the World Cup for a third time. That tournament was more than half a century ago, but no one's come close to matching Pelé's record. The legendary Brazilian appeared in 4 World Cups in total. That gives him a remarkable tournament winning percentage of 75%. If France win the World Cup in Qatar, perhaps Mbappe could go on to match Pelé's record. Beating it though, we're not sure anyone will ever do that. What other records would you add to the list? Let us know in the comments and subscribe so you never miss a video.